How does All Grip take the market? I mean, you've got a zillion paints. All Grip is what you use on the Hinckley. How do you do that?
Well, I think, Tom, part is the secret is being a startup that has started 225 years ago, so that gives you a bit of a head start. Secondly, I think it's the quality of the products and also the channel, the whole service to the customers. And in the whole boating industry, that is one of the strongholds from Akzo Nobel since many decades.
The battle of this, and when you were with DuPont and you came over here to drive forward Akzo Nobel, is financial return. A can of paint, a gallon of paint has delivered 14.4% per year over the last 10 years. How do you maintain the integrity of those margins in a perfectly competitive industry?
Well, in fact, as you know, over the last 2 years, we really stepped it up significantly. Raw materials have been going up over the last 18 months really consistently. So we've been looking at two ways. One is getting our prices up in the market, because that was necessary. Secondly, looking at our own cost, because you also have to look at your own cost structure. And that's what we've been doing over the last 2 years now with quite good success, despite many headwinds in the macro-political environment.
Mr. Vanlancker, you were able to actually push through price hikes. How many more price hikes can consumers take around the world?
Well, what we indicated, Francine, is that we wanted to offset the raise of the raw materials since the beginning of 2017. We're getting pretty close to that. There's still a little round happening in the beginning of this year, just because there is still ongoing light inflation. But we're getting somewhat to the end of that cycle. And now we've also traded down in some of our lower economy lines. So now it's really around reestablishing our franchises and getting our supply chain set up to our customers. So I think there is kind of a limit. We've gotten great acceptance from our customers because they know it's pretty transparent what the raw material market has been doing.
What do you worry about amongst your customers? Is there an industry group? You're, for example, very present with car parts makers. We're seeing a slowdown. We report on it every day from the car makers around the world. Is that impacting Akzo Nobel? Will it impact it even more in 12 months?
Well, less so. Akzo Nobel is a bit atypical because we have less exposure to the car OEM market. But we have had over the last 2 years quite some exposure to the shipping industry, the big boats. 2-3 years ago, there was 2,400 big tankers being built. It's been down to 700, now back up to 1,000. So we see that trend turning. But the car industry as such has less of a direct impact in our numbers.
Do you pick the color for Deluxe Spiced Honey this year? Are you the guy that picks the color?
Well, the color is picked by a number of trendsetters. So
excuse me, Greg. We're sitting here with a trendsetter today, Thierry Vanlancker.
But I'm not part of that group either.
Okay, but you open your store in Shanghai, the Deluxe Concept Center in Shanghai. I want you to speak to the President of the United States right now about what the trade dynamics are between the U.S. and China, and how that affects your retail effort in Deluxe in Shanghai.
Oh, it has a huge impact.
In what way?
Even if we're a European-based company, we're in euro trading in euros, what you see is consumer confidence is down quite a lot. So that means people who don't feel comfortable, the Chinese, a bit like Europeans, tend to save their money when they're uncertain. So consumer confidence has been down a lot, and the market there has been, for paint, has been flat, which is unheard of in China since a long time. I think once there's clarity on how the things goes, independent, I think you'll see stuff happening back.
Tell me about raw materials. I was familiar with Nord Resources a million years ago. It was the white pigment chalk in Western Africa, in all that. Tell us about one window into the raw materials demand of the paint industry.
Well, there's two big categories. One is titanium dioxide, is the white pigment, which goes into. I
love chemistry talk on TV. Titanium dioxide.
We can take it offline if you want. But then you have the resins and you have the solvents, which is really linked to oil and gas, and then the capacity. So that's supply demand that has played a big role there, and they've all been escalating quite a lot over the last.
See how he did that, Francine? He says, "Take it offline."
Yeah, I love it.
Too much organic, inorganic.
Mr. Vanlancker, what makes you worry about China? Is there any concerns about IP theft? Is it, underlying debt concern that could actually see you take a hit on Chinese consumers?
Yeah. Actually, for us, it's maybe less in those areas. One, consumer confidence. In fact, if you're in decorative paint, a lot of it has to do with how well the real estate market is going, how well people feel they have to re-embellish their homes. That has been a little bit slow over the last 18 months. The second thing that worries us is local competitors. competitors who frankly are somewhat playing in the economy side of the market and who've been increasingly nervous and making offers which we believe are barely at variable cost of their products. And that is continuing to really muddy the waters in that market. So that's for us the bigger worry that we've seen in the Chinese market.
Tell us about goodwill. We spent all day Friday looking at the train wreck known as Kraft, the merger here of the Brazilians and Mr. Buffett, and a massive write-down of brands. You are the conservative, stodgy, what we say in America, button-down shop. How do you deal with the intangibles of the brands that you have?
Well, as you know, Tom, we tend to be indeed very conservative on how much goodwill. If you can't really see it, if you really can't put a real number around it, we tend to get the goodwill somewhat lower.
10%. I mean, on the common size on the balance sheet, 10% versus the 40% we see with the food follies.
That is correct, because in a rainy day you may regret having too much on this esoteric category called goodwill.
Are you stockpiling in the UK, Mr. Vanlancker, for Brexit, in preparation of Brexit?
Well, we are. Now we have about, it's close to $1 billion revenue in the UK, so we're a big player there. It's been an ongoing, I would say, irritation in the meantime around having unclarity on how it's going to happen. So yes, we have quite some extra inventory in the UK. What we sell in the UK is often made in the UK, so it's more for our suppliers, but also for the products we sell outside of the UK. We've been stockpiling some products outside, but frankly, if you look at warehousing, if you look at transport, there is not much more you can do than an extra month of inventory. So we hope that reason is going to come back to that whole debate and that we have clarity very soon. But that's for our company. I think I'm speaking for every CEO and every company out there who wants to see clarity in the whole Brexit saga.